And so I want to be like crystal clear. This global Christian community stands with the Hindu community.
The situation is clearly on a knife edge.
We have a religious leader who has now been arrested. We need to know effectively what is being done to secure his release.
And they've shown me extremely concerning social media content containing threats to Hindus to leave the country or face extermination.
Another day, another news of a Hindu targeted in Bangladesh. The situation is turning worrisome now because remember this, when the so-called revolution erupted against Sheikh Hasina, what was it portrayed as? A student movement, mass rebellion against a dictator. But what have you seen in the past few months? Mob violence, vigorous targeted attacks on members of the Hindu minority community for some reason since the fall of the Sheikh Hasina-led Awami League government in August. Hindu teachers being forced to resign. Over 200 temples reportedly ever since have been targeted. Houses burned down, many people are missing. And then this happens. Images of a Dhaka-based journalist, Munni Saha, about 55 years of age. She's from the Hindu minority community and is the former news head of the Bengali channel ATN News. After Hasina's ouster, Saha was also targeted. But this time in the latest, she was mobbed by a crowd in Dhaka's Coward Bazaar area. The videos that are surfacing, a mob can be seen charging at her, calling her an Indian stooge. You are doing everything you can to make this country a part of India, they are heard saying in this video. Eventually, she had to be rescued by the police. Is this an isolated incident? Should it just be seen at that and left at that? Because in the latest again, Bangladesh border authorities denied permission to 54 members of ISKCON who wanted to cross into India. They possessed valid travel documents, and despite waiting for hours at the office, devotees were informed that their travel to India has not been authorized. This is as per news agency PTI. Extremist groups in Bangladesh attacked 2 temples, assaulted members of the minority community in Chittagong, forcing Hindus living in the area to flee to safer shelters. Several shops have been targeted near the Kotwali police station in Chittagong after the Friday prayers. All of this has happened in the past 10 days. One big update that everyone's been talking about is the arrest of Hindu monk leader and former ISKCON member Chinmay Krishnadas in a sedition case. For his bail, erupted violent protests, and that even led to the death of a lawyer. All of this was bizarre because despite the outrage and the protests, it did not stop the authorities in Bangladesh. 2 more young Hindu priests, Rudrapati Kesab Das and Ranganath Syamasundar Das, were also arrested. Jamaat-e-Islami have held radical views, anti-minority views even. And now with the BNP, Jamaat also has political influence with the government. And that has led the Hindu minority into days and nights of concern and worry. Today, Bangladeshi Hindus have come down to less than 8% in their own homeland. The numbers have fallen sharply and drastically since independence in 1970s. And so these incidents cannot simply be seen in isolation. The pattern has turned more clear, and how? So India is also watching how we are now increasingly surrounded by Taliban's Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, Islamic Republic of Pakistan and Bangladesh on the other side of the border, all deviating from their original foundation of their countries and civilizations. Diverse, colorful culture earlier to a hegemony of one against rational approach of others. India Today reports that there are open calls now for slaughter on the streets in Bangladesh. Don't these mobsters deserve imprisonment? Instead, calling for a ban on the ISKCON, which is a global bhakti movement otherwise also running globally. For now, a Bangladeshi High Court has refused to ban the ISKCON, and I hope that better sense will prevail. And I must appreciate here that this time global voices are also speaking up on this matter. India, of course, has put out strong statement politically but also socially. There are social media campaigns, protests and events in solidarity for the Hindu minority in Bangladesh. Referring to the reports emerging from Bangladesh, Ministry of External Affairs on 29th November said, government has taken a serious note of these incidents and shared concerns with the government of Bangladesh, expressing serious concerns regarding the attack specifically on a Pooja Mandap in Tanti Bazar, Dhaka, theft at the Jeshoreshwari Kali temple at Satkera during Durga Puja. Following these attacks, the government of Bangladesh issued instructions to provide special security to ensure peaceful celebrations of the Puja. The High Commission of India in Dhaka continues to monitor the situation related to the minorities in Bangladesh closely. Addressing a press conference, MEA spokesperson Randir Jaiswal said this.
Yes, we have been raising and consistently raising this issue of law and order in Bangladesh, and as I just said before, we have been consistently raising this issue with the interim government in Bangladesh. We made our position very clear that we continue to demand with the government, continue to raise the matter with the government of Bangladesh that they must take on the responsibility of protecting the minorities in the country.
And not just that. A group of retired judges, bureaucrats and a sitting member of parliament have shot off a letter to Prime Minister Narendra Modi urging him to intervene and address the rising violence in the neighbor nation against the Hindu community and other minorities. Interestingly, beyond Asia as well, voices this time are speaking up. We know of President-elect Donald Trump who said this, condemning the attacks on Hindus in Bangladesh. Bob Blackman, a conservative member of the parliament in Eastern United Kingdom, also expressed concern over the reports surfacing against ISKCON and the Hindu community in Bangladesh. In fact, he spoke in the British Parliament. Here's what he said.
Hindus across Bangladesh are being subject literally to death by their houses being burnt, their temples are being burnt, and there was an attempt today in the Bangladesh High Court to rule that ISKCON should be banned from the country. This is a direct attack on Hindus. Now, this is a threat from India now to take action. We have a responsibility because we enable Bangladesh to be free and independent.
Johnny Moore, former commissioner of the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, also expressed concern over the global silence on the persecution of minorities in Bangladesh.
I want to be crystal clear as I possibly can be, that the global Christian community stands with the Hindu community in Bangladesh, and it is the first responsibility of a government to protect those under threat, and the religious minorities of Bangladesh are really feeling it now, and they deserve our support.
Moore further said that the situation is of an existential threat, not just to the communities, but to the nation of Bangladesh as a whole. American singer Mary Miliband also spoke against the treatment of Hindu minorities in Bangladesh, specifically about the former ISKCON priest. Australian Minister Chris Bowen has spoken up in September about the increasing number of violent incidents against Hindus and other minorities in the country.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, we are very grateful to the members of parliament from UK and Donald Trump and the protest which is happening right in India from spiritual leaders like Sri Ravi Shankarji, Sadhguru, Baba Ramdev, and Devkinandan Thakur, and so many spiritualists. They are openly speaking about it.
As I conclude, remember this. There is a reason that Hindus from Bangladesh have had to flee to India or to any other nation to safer shelters over decades. Their numbers have drastically dipped. And now, when even one of them is being targeted or is being hurt in Bangladesh, everyone must stand up and say, no more. Thank you for watching.